laws of physics are constantly at work in our river systems. So the way the stream works is, okay, so every gallon of water weighs about 8.6 pounds, right? So you start adding up all that water in the stream, you have a lot of force that's actually constantly moving down our bayous. And as this force is flowing down our bayous, so say I'll take this, if you imagine a wagon wheel, okay, the center of the hub moves at a certain rate, and the outside rim has to move much farther and faster to keep up with the same distance as the inside hub. So your outside bank is going to be your cutting bank, right? So if you're living on the bayou and you're having property, you have property right here, you're actually losing property because all that force is coming up against the edge of the bayou and it's constantly eroding away the bayou. Now the inside edge, right here, which would be the inside hub of the wagon wheel, is moving so slow. When I teach it to my kids at Vermillionville, I use the analogy of making Kool-Aid, right? So you put your sugar in, you stir it, and as soon as you take the spoon out, the sugar tends to settle to the bottom of the pitcher. So this outside edge, the water's moving so fast it's cutting away, and the inside edge is moving slower, so you're actually depositing sediment as that water doesn't have enough speed to keep all the sediment that's in our streams coming down. So eventually, this bayou is going to encroach further and further in this direction. As it comes here, it's going to encroach this direction. This one's going to go this way, that one's going to go this way. So whatever edge the bayou's on, the bayou's going to go in one direction or another. And that's just the natural habit of the stream. There are things we can do to slow that process, but basically it's the process of nature. She's been doing this for millions and millions of years, and anything that we're going to do is going to buy us just a little bit of time. There are certain things that we can do that are a little bit more invasive on the bayou. Other methods that Patty is going to be going over actually work with the river system instead of trying to stop it. Stopping the river is really not an option. Aiding it, influencing it, we can. But this is just the way the river works. So if you look at an older river, the older the river, the deeper the meanders. Now the Bayou TECHE, so this is the Bayou TECHE. It's dumping into the Atchafalaya, and then it's going into Cote Blanche Bay. The Mississippi, if you could imagine the Mississippi out of New Orleans, it's built up so much delta that it's about as far offshore as it can go. And it's deposited so much sediment at the bank of the bayou, at the bank of the river, that water has to basically travel over this hump. The water doesn't jump. It kind of stops, and it swells up, and it backs up. So the Mississippi River is actually backing up, and as it's backing up, the water in the Mississippi River is slowing down. So at the moment, the Mississippi River channel is actually getting shallower and shallower and shallower, and it's going to be coming down the Atchafalaya Basin. About 60% of the water coming from the north goes down the Mississippi Channel. About 40% is diverted into the Atchafalaya. So the Atchafalaya is going to continue to build sediment at the bottom of the bank, and then sooner or later, in a couple thousand years, the Atchafalaya is going to switch over again. And that's what happened to the Bayou TECHE. So the Bayou TECHE was carrying a large majority of that water for quite some time, and then it built up. So the Bayou TECHE is actually an elevated waterway. It has a lot of, the banks on the Bayou TECHE are much shallower than the Vermilion that's coming down from the left. You can't see the Vermilion, but it cuts off. And Arnaville turns into Bayou Fugilate, and then Bayou Fugilate eventually becomes the Vermilion River. So the banks on the Vermilion are much steeper than the banks on the Bayou TECHE, and the erosive problems that we deal with on the Vermilion are actually exacerbated in comparison to the TECHE. So that's just a little bit about the natural flow of the water, and with that I'll turn back over to them.
Okay, and